If nothing changes and kids keep using the internet the way they are now, what worries you the most?
Yeah. So, I was born in 87. And so I feel like at least I'm lucky to have life before the internet and then life after. And I think kids today, because they don't have that, they were born with, iPads were already out, I think, yeah, when all my kids were born. And so I think the worry from a lot of parents, and especially my own parents, is that they're not going to be able to experience, real life, like outside, to get to know people. There's going to be social anxieties, things like that. I have a harder time worrying about that stuff. Maybe it's because our family is very tech focused. I'm, a software developer, so I'm on iPhone every day, working on apps and things like that. So maybe I'm a little blinded by it, but I think my biggest fear is that if you don't take steps to limit screen time and limit exposure to the internet, kids will see things or experience things or talk to the wrong people, and that could shape their entire life.
Welcome to Mobile Podcast Trailer. My name is Jesse, and if you've never been here, this podcast is for dreamers, risk takers, doers, entrepreneurs, and maybe even entrepreneurs that never even meant to end up in the entrepreneurial journey. If you have ever asked yourself, how did I end up here? This podcast is for you. And today, we are here with my friend Patrick Adams. He is the creator of Lion Browser and a whole host of different things that I'm sure we will uncover. But today, part of what we're talking about will be Lion. And I'll say, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I've been on a few podcasts, or actually I ran a few podcasts back in the day. They were video game focused, but there's something about the podcast forum that's just, I like to talk about things. So it's perfect for people that like to talk and need to find that, the people that want to hear what they have to say. The podcast is perfect for that.
Yeah. Well, and also too, like podcasts allow us to be real. Mm-hmm. Whereas like if you're doing a YouTube video for 8 minutes, you can put on a character for 8 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's certainly hard to put on a character for an hour or two. I don't listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, but his podcasts are always incredibly long. And a lot of people listen to the entirety of it. Yeah. And like I think part of it is that like they really get Joe. Mm-hmm. You're not faking it when you're on something for an hour plus.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm gonna start off with a question because I want to talk Lion Browser and the family of apps that you have that go along with it. But I'm going to ask this question first. If nothing changes and kids keep using the internet the way they are now, what worries you the most?
Yeah. So, I was born in 87. And so I feel like at least I'm lucky to have life before the internet and then life after. And I think kids today, because they don't have that, they were born with, iPads were already out, I think, yeah, when all my kids were born. And so I think the worry from a lot of parents, and especially my own parents, is that they're not going to be able to experience, real life, like outside, to get to know people. There's going to be social anxieties, things like that. I have a harder time worrying about that stuff. Maybe it's because our family is very tech focused. I'm, a software developer, so I'm on iPhone every day, working on apps and things like that. So maybe I'm a little blinded by it, but I think my biggest fear is that if you don't take steps to limit screen time and limit exposure to the internet, kids will see things or experience things or talk to the wrong people, and that could shape their entire life. I was exposed to things that I shouldn't have been exposed to at a young age, and I feel like it kind of, changed the entire trajectory of my life. So I think that's my main fear, is that kids will be exposed to something that, they're not going to be able to shake. And you also have the social anxieties and things like that. I know for myself, working from home, it's great. Like, I love it. I've been working from home for 8 years, but I've noticed that I used to be this social guy that would go out and talk to everyone. And now more and more, it's easy for me to be like, no, I want to stay home. I don't want to go out. I don't want to mingle. I don't want to talk to anyone. And I think kids get comfortable, with iPads, and that's their like safe space. So it's harder for them to want to go out and talk to people. And so that's I think my main fear is that kids will grow up and just want to be at home and not really want to like go out and make friends and do things. So I mean we'll see how it turns out, but
yeah, I would agree with you. What we certainly, obviously I'm not developing apps, but I'm certainly, in the world of technology and, social platforms and all of that stuff. I just don't want my kids to become addicted.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my biggest fear, is the addiction and learning how to navigate through that, because I don't drink or smoke because I have an addictive personality.
Mm-hmm.
So I choose to not start something that I know that I'd have to stop. So, but then again, I'm still on my phone quite a bit once I'm home.
Yeah.
And not all of it is necessary.
Yeah, it's
and that's
easy.
Something that I need to do better at.
Yeah, for sure. It's easy to get, and yeah, I think, how should I word this? Like with texting, for example, kids are texting their friends and things. They don't have, the maturity. I can't even imagine if I had texting when I was 12 years old. It's hard enough to text someone as an adult and not take it the wrong way. If you're texting family members or whatever, and then you read your text and you're like, whoa, they could read the tone of that way different than I intended. And so kids have, they don't have that luxury of, at least we know and we can see that, okay, maybe that text was taken the wrong way. Kids don't have that. So I think there's a lot of, conflict through messages that are sent, over iMessage or whatever texting app you're using. And so there's a lot to be learned. I think, because of that, it's like, you can't drive until you're 16. There probably should be a law that's like, you can't have a phone until you're 16 because you're not prepared.
Yeah, I would agree. We're learning that now. I would even say, like, we're not gonna, we have some of our kids have social media, but they don't have any control over it. It's all us, mainly my wife doing the socials. But we don't have, we're not pushing that. And, to us, it's like, let's not even, you can't have it until you're 18, like on your devices, on your phones. And even then, I may even make it a rule to be like, you can't have it until you're moved out of the house.
Yeah. I can definitely see with, for example, my daughter, she got a phone. I don't know how old she was, let's say 14 or 15. She definitely was not ready. she's 17 now. I would say definitely see improvement, and her maturity has changed to where I'm like, okay, I think you can handle a phone now. I mean, she's already had it,
Right.
but it's like finally at age 17, that's when I'm like, okay, I think you can handle this. But if it was up to me, it'd be great to even wait until you're 18. And I know that sounds crazy and controversial.
Right.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be like, wow, you're way too overprotective. It's not that I want to shield my kids from, making mistakes and things like that. I just don't know if they have the capacity to learn when, I don't know, social media and technology is just a totally different beast. It's not like you're going out talking to a friend face to face, you say something, you see their reaction, and then you adjust and you're like, oh, maybe I should respond a different way. You don't get that with texting. Right. So then you go down these rabbit holes and then you lose friends. And I think, yes, you can learn from that, obviously, losing friends and things like that. But you might just start to think that that's your identity. I've seen that in my daughter where it's like, well, I'm just good at losing friends. It's like, no, that should not be your identity. And I think, this is why you're not quite ready for everything that a phone has to offer. It's way too open,
Well, I think too, like in the beginning, phones were phones.
Yeah, for calling.
They were, we called, and then text messaging was introduced. And then that phone call, that relationship of hearing what your friends are, you hear something in their voice.
Mm-hmm.
You see, when you're with them, you see the way that they respond to something, how they interact with you. You can almost tell when your friend is hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But over text message, you don't get any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've when email first started happening, I remember reading emails the wrong way. Like, I would send an email in all caps because I wrote in all caps.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because I was yelling, but I didn't know the etiquette,
mm-hmm.
right? And so nowadays, like, we do need to push our kids to that interpersonal communication and relationships.
Yeah.
Rather than something else.
Yeah, I think for sure. There honestly should probably be a class in school that's like, hey, this is sending messages. This is the etiquette behind sending a message, whether it be text message, email, because they might not have that exposure to friends where they know how to communicate. And so, yeah, I think just online etiquette and how to communicate could actually be a really beneficial class for kids.
I almost say that any type of communication almost needs to be done over FaceTime or Zoom or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because if, is your oldest daughter homeschooled?
Yeah. Now she is, yeah.
So all your kids are homeschooled.
Yeah.
All mine are homeschooled. One of the things that we run into is we have, one of Eli's best friends lives in Wickenburg. His other best friend lives in, North Peoria, mm-hmm. on the, north of the 303 by the TSMC. They're 45 minutes, an hour and a half away. Like, my best friend was next door.
Yeah.
I woke up on a weekend and went outside and knocked on my best friend's door, and we played basketball for hours.
Yeah.
That I think is kind of the problem in our culture today. Like, all of our friends live so far away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I kind of go FaceTime.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to talk, FaceTime.
Mm-hmm.
One, usually it's loud and obnoxious, but we at least hear what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But also you get that almost face to face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it would be nice if you could get together, but like one of my daughter's closest friends lives in Kentucky now. Like, so the only way to communicate is, FaceTime, a phone call, or texting. I would err on let's always FaceTime so that way you can see. Because I think that's lost. That's my biggest fear is like we're going to from texting our friends to now texting with chat GPT.
Yeah.
And it almost feels the same because what you're doing is you're only reading the response. You're not getting that true interpersonal communication. You're getting just the visual response of what you said. So naturally, it's going to feel the same. So if you get a response from your friend and you get a response from AI, they're going to feel the same. So I think I made the decision just now that we institute FaceTime as much as possible. If you can't hang out. If you can't hang out with your friends, FaceTime as much as possible.
Yeah. That's one thing that I was worried about my kids, because again, most of their friends are further away. I don't think we made a friend in the neighborhood and then unfortunately they moved like 2 months later. And I was like, of course, like, here we go.
Yep.
But the cool thing that I have been seeing, I think with this generation is they can call each other because they always have devices. Like for me, and I do think there's something to boredom, and I do, it is good to be bored. I think that's healthy for sure. But for me, it was like I couldn't call my friend. I like you had to go knock on his door.
Right.
And if he wasn't home, I waited there, or I would wait on the corner, or try to get some information, or talk to his mom or dad and see where he was, and then wait until he got back. But the cool thing is most kids have some sort of device, whether it be iPhone or iPad, and they can talk all the time. And the crazy thing is my son talks to his best friend all of the time, like probably too much, but I hear them talking constantly. And then the other cool thing is they'll invite people to the FaceTime or the, audio chat or whatever. And so then they're talking in a group while they play games. So in a way, it could be the most social, generation of our time, but they have to learn and be responsible, and we have to guide them, in directing them towards, like you said, more FaceTime or audio, just because if you don't have those cues, like there are times when I text someone, I send it and then I read it back and I'm like, wow, that sounded so dry or like inconsiderate. And then I realize, no, that's not how I was reading it in my mind, but this is how someone else can read it. And so even as adults, it's hard.
Yeah.
And that's why, we have a few friends that refuse to text. And anytime I text them, they call me. I'm like, I don't want to pick up. But I pick up and then we have a great conversation.
Yep.
If you're ever arguing with someone, call them. Because it's so much harder to be mad at someone when you're talking to them with a voice, or face to face.
Right.
And that's the other thing is, there are conversations we've had with my daughter where it's like, would you say that in person? No way would she say that in person. So yeah, more and more FaceTime, definitely a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So was there a specific moment, maybe as a parent or a creator, where you thought something is not right with how kids are using the internet and that caused you to create Lion?
Yeah. So the funny thing about Lion is it started almost in it was kind of like a greedy way. So I think it was around 2015. I worked at an agency in Philadelphia, and I was listening to this podcast, and the guy on the podcast was saying, he was talking about this story of this guy who was an atheist, but he was looking on the App Store for an app that is used by so many people, has a ton of reviews, maybe millions of users, but is not a great experience. And so he was looking for an app that he could kind of, build a better version of that app.
Yeah, mimic the app, but create it in a better fashion.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, and the reason I brought up that he was atheist is the app that he found was a Spanish Bible app. And so he decided to, I think he wasn't even a developer. He hired developers. He created this Spanish Bible app, but made it so much better. And he was working on it or having people work on it once a month. And he was making, I want to say 6 figures. I don't know if that was per month or per year, but enough to just chill.
Yeah.
With very minimal work. So that inspired me. I, at the time, was using accountability browsers. I don't know if you're familiar, like Triple X Church was a thing back in the day. And then they made X3 Watch, which was a browser for the iPhone, and it would track, or it was like an accountability browser, so it would send logs to a partner, and it was such a horrible experience. It was like the worst browser. I don't even know if it had bookmarks. It was like bare minimum. Here's a web browser, and I just thought to myself, do we really have to compromise? I know I'm the one that's struggling here, and I need an accountability browser, but does it have to be like a bad experience? So I got 2 guys that I was working with, and I said, hey, let's make a browser, and we'll just, we'll charge like $10 flat fee. So Lion started out over 10 years ago as an accountability browser for guys. And it was good. There's a lot of people actually that are still using that original browser, even though it's no longer on the App Store. They can still use it on their phone. But then as my kids started to get older, specifically my daughter, I was like, I want her to be able to browse the web. She would ask for my phone, like, hey, can I search, why is the sky blue or whatever. And so I was like, I want to be able to her to have a browser that I know is like, I know what she's searching for and I know everything's safe. And so there came a point where I was like, I'm either ditching the Lion browser completely because it was taking time, or I'm going to rebuild it, from the ground up. So I felt like as soon as I asked that question, God was like, rebuild it. So I got an instant answer. And so I started rebuilding it, and but with the mindset of I'm going to build a browser that works for my kids. And that, it's a different thing when you're building it for a guy who just needs to avoid things. And it's very simple, you just have accountability partners and, you send logs. But now I actually have to build like safety guardrails. I need, full history, tracking and things like that. So it was, how can I build this for my daughter? And so that was what inspired, the most recent version of Lion. And I think that's Lion browser is what kicked off, the other apps. Then I started thinking, okay, what are other apps, that I would love for my, kids to be able to use, but safely. And so, it was the same question with YouTube. YouTube became, these are all problems that I had with the family. It's like, I want my kids to be able to browse the web, but I need it to be safe. I want my kids to be able to watch YouTube, but I need to be able to control the creators that they can view. Or I want my kids to be able to use AI, but AI, it can be a very dark rabbit hole, if it's unrestricted. And so, things like ChatGPT, it's like, I want my kids to be able to research something, but I don't want them to just be cheating on tests and getting answers and, because then they're going to grow up and they're not going to have learned anything in school. So it was real problems that I needed to solve for my family. And that's the other thing is like, I created these for my family. So it became, I don't really care, or I don't need this to be super popular because it is solving a problem within my family.
Right.
And that's why I created it. So it's getting the job done. But then after that was like, how do I focus and how do I make this something? Because I want to help other parents.
Right.
You know, YouTube was a big thing. We would always tell the kids, hey, only watch what we're subscribed to. But there's still browse, there's still search.
Right. They can still access.
You know, even
everything
in
else.
a public, we only let them watch YouTube on the TV in a public spot.
Mhm.
But we're not always downstairs. We're not always, you know, watching everything that they're watching. So how can I solve that problem and make a safe YouTube? Yeah.
So it looks like you already answered question number 3.
No, I was
Which is, did you see or experience have an experience that made you go from an idea to something that had to be built?
Yeah.
And I would say what you just said is that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, building something for kids comes with a bit of pressure. What scared you most about taking this project on?
Yeah. So with adults, if you're creating an app, it's okay if, you know, there's a bug and something slips through. You know, it's not a big deal. You're an adult, you can handle that. But with kids, the stakes are much higher. If I'm advertising this browser as, hey, this is a safe browser, and then there's a bug and kids are exposed to something that they shouldn't be, well, now I'm the one to blame.
Right.
And I don't want my apps to be the place where, you know, a kid is exposed to something for the first time. You know, that's so the bar is so much higher. And there has been, you know, there was one bug that someone found, which was like, hey, when I click on the terms of service, there's a Twitter link and my kid could go to Twitter.
Mm.
And so because of that feedback, you know, I was able to go in and make sure there's no, you know, links to social media and the terms of service. But that's the thing is kids will find a way. They're probably the best bug testers because they know it's crazy.
How intuitive
it
is for them.
It's crazy how when there's a will, there's a way. They will find a way. If, you know, they're really good at abusing simple apps that you would never think you could be exposed to, you know, adult content in this app, and they'll find a way. Yeah. So really making sure there's no leaks in the software has been a huge focus for me. And I think I've done pretty good at it. I test it thoroughly. And so, yeah, just that bar is so much higher. And so that's why also I've put into place a lot of, you know, maybe if something breaks, you'll be notified about it. So it's like, for example, in the parental controls, there's like, it's pin protected. Well, but what if your kid figures out the pin? You know, kids are always looking over your shoulder or they guess the number or whatever. Well, now, you know, if a kid or anyone inputs the pin or changes it or deletes it, the parent is sent an email. So there's ways that I, you know, can get around like, hey, if something breaks, I want the parent notified right away so that they can, you know, change it. So yeah, it's a whole other beast, making apps for kids, definitely.
For sure. What's something happening online with kids right now that most parents have no idea about?
I think it's not even necessarily online. I think most parents don't realize how easy it is for their kids to get online. I think that's where I'm most discouraged is the amount of parents that give their kid an iPad or an iPhone and they don't realize how much that can affect your kid. Most parents don't realize what their kids are, you know, viewing online. If it's, you know, maybe you block Safari, Like that's a great first step. Block Safari on an iPad and download Lion Browser. But even if you don't do that, even if you don't download Lion Browser, Apple makes it really hard to keep an iPad locked tight. Blocking Safari is not enough. You also have to make sure that you're blocking the ability to download apps. Because if Safari is blocked, your kid can just go download another browser from the App Store. And you wouldn't know. It's not even that. It's not even that they could download browsers. It could be an app. For example, maybe they're using TikTok or an app that lets you text people. Like, I don't know if kids are using Slack, but let's say Discord or something. You can view links right inside of Discord. You don't even need a browser.
Yep.
So to really completely lock down an iPhone or an iPad, it's really hard. And so that's my biggest, that's the thing I'm most worried about is how can we educate parents? Because just blocking Safari, just blocking the App Store is not enough.
Right.
You have to know exactly how the device works. And I think parents get discouraged. They're like, well, I'm never going to figure it out. So I just need to hope for the best. And so they hand their kids an iPad and just hope that they're going to be honest and, not look. But I know how kids work and we live in we have sin in us by nature. Yeah. We're going to be searching for the bad stuff. The funniest story is I was looking through search history on YouTube, and one of the search terms that my son, who was maybe 7 at the time, searched for, he literally searched the words inappropriate content because he heard us saying, we don't want you to watch anything inappropriate. And he spoke into the Siri remote and was like, inappropriate content, like odd YouTube.
Yeah.
Because he knows he shouldn't be watching it. He doesn't even know what inappropriate content means, but he's searching for it.
Right. So
I want to say, like, you think you can trust your kid and maybe you can for a little bit, but the truth is you can't. There's going to be a point where they're very curious, and it usually happens way sooner than parents think it's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough to navigate. Like when we were kids, so I was born in 81. Mm-hmm. So I'm in like a micro generation of time where, like, I think it's like 78 to 81 is like this true like gap in history.
Mm-hmm.
And like I really remember not the internet. Like you may remember not having the internet, but like the internet was right on your heels.
Yeah.
I remember being in school and we would go to the computer lab, and the computer lab was just a room full of computers. There was like, it was just all like DOS, it was terrible. And then once I made it to high school, that's when, the OS changed, and, we started doing typing tests and, home row. And I remember my freshman year of high school, my, in English, we would always go to the computer lab, and, my teacher would be like, okay, here's home row and learn how to type. And we do all these typing exercises. And I remember saying, like, these things are a fad. Like, these things are going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these things are not going to catch on. They're so clunky and lame. And who's going to want to type at a computer all day long? Like, that's just stupid. And so I had an Asian friend who was like a computer genius and could type really fast. And so whenever my teacher wasn't looking, I'd have him type my stuff because I'd be like, I'd wait. And then I'd be like, dude, come on over. And he'd knock it out in 10 seconds. And I'd be like, oh, thanks. Because I was fully convinced that computers, I still don't want anything to do with them. And, I try not to do that much.
Yeah.
Like I have my team put everything on.
Yeah. No, it's
So,
good to
like we have a computer over there and it's mine, but I don't really want it. I would love to not have everything.
No, I agree with that. I've been working on software for the past 13 years, and it's like it would be great to find a different profession where I don't have to be on the computer all the time. It's just where we are these days.
Yeah. So what's the moment during building Lion Browser where you thought that it might not work?
I think, it's just, for me, it was, I'm just one guy, one dude that's trying to make, the internet's a safer place. And there's entire, huge companies that are out there trying to do the same thing. So finding a different approach is, I think, what I had to do, or else this wouldn't actually be a product that parents would care about.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of companies work on, they'll have something you can install on the computer that tracks things. The problem is that works for computers, and it even works for Android. But iPhone is so locked down. Every app on iPhone is considered a sandbox. Nothing leaves the sandbox. So if you have an app, there's no way for another app to know or get data from, that your app. Unless, for example, Google has multiple apps. Those apps can communicate with each other because they're all owned by Google. So Google can build that in. But for Google to be able to, see what my app is doing, impossible, because it's a sandbox. And iPhone, they're great. They take security very seriously, but to the point where it makes it impossible for you to come out with something where it's like, hey, I just want you to be able to install this on your iPhone and track all activity across all apps. That's not possible. So what I had to do with Lion is separate myself from those companies because I know iPhone inside and out. I've been an iPhone developer basically almost since they came out.
Mm-hmm.
And so my approach had to be different, because the only way to track things globally on an iPhone is either by signing into things like iCloud or by using VPNs. Like if you hook your phone up to a VPN, then all traffic goes through that VPN, they can track it. But then that becomes a problem where if you want to watch Netflix, well, now that Netflix traffic has to go through VPN. It can slow things down, all kinds of stuff. So for me, it was like, I want to create native apps that run on the iPhone, just like Google, but they can be tracked, by, for example, the Lion Family app. So that was my main goal. Is I have the browser, YouTube, AI, and then the Lion Family app brings all those together. And now the parents have like a dashboard where they can see. So there's no guessing, there's no VPN, there's no tracking at a higher level, because that's not possible. Now it's each individual app is part of this ecosystem. You can almost think of it as kind of like an operating system, where it's, if you have an iPhone, you could set it up where you can only use the Lion apps, and then it becomes something like a Gab phone, or a Bark now has a phone, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where I would say Lion is different. Most kids, there's social pressure to get an iPhone. It's like, Android's totally fine. I don't know. Do you have an Android or
No,
iPhone?
we have iPhones, but we've considered the Gab phones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my son has a Gab phone.
Off and on, we've considered it, and I don't know it. Like, I don't know the environment well. Just because I have an iPhone doesn't mean I know the iPhone well either. And just because I worked for Apple has no bearing of me knowing.
The Gab phone's it's fine. It's a great first phone. I would definitely say it's a great first phone. But now my son, who's turning 15 in October, is like, when can I get an iPhone? It's like iPhone's like the next step because all the kids have the iPhone, or dad, mom and dad have an iPhone. It's like,
Right.
I want an iPhone. My sister has an iPhone. And so I would say Lion is for, highly recommend Gab phone or Bark phone, but there's going to come a point where the kid is going to be like, okay, now I want an iPhone. And whether you decide to cave or not, that's up to the parent. But now for those iPhone users, there's the Lion apps are built for iPhone users. And I think that's what separates us from the competition. And your original question was like, what was the hardest part, or what, where could this fail? That is where I would fail. If I didn't separate myself from the competition, then I would easily fail. I had to do something different because there's companies with investors and millions of dollars and tons of users. And for me to compete with them, I have to use my expertise, with the iPhone to separate myself and say, hey, I know the iPhone inside and out. This is why you should use these apps. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a sip of water.
You totally can do that. Did building this change how you see yourself as a founder or even as a parent?
No, not really. I think
You've always seen yourself as a developer.
Yeah, definitely as a developer. It's like, I don't know, I get imposter syndrome, and I've tried many times in the past to create apps to get famous and get popular. And, I've before Lion, it was social networks. I created like an app for reviewing things, and then I created an app for families to like meet other families in the area. It's always been social networks. And then, with Lion, sure, like, do I look at myself as a founder? Yes, but it's still, the title still seems, when I put the title on LinkedIn or something, it's like anyone can kind of call themselves a founder or a CEO.
Right.
So for me, I feel like I haven't earned the founder or CEO title until this is something, I might have a number in my head where it's like, once we reach 10,000 users, then it's like a legit product, and I can say, hey, look, I'm a founder.
Yeah. Even though you have proof of concept, you have a number that will validate if you hit 10,000 users, then you're like, okay, this is
now it's a real thing.
It's funny because I manage YouTube channels, and most of the channels I manage are very small. And really the intent for each of the channels that I manage is to attract high-end clients to, what my clients do.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are like luxury remodel companies or custom home builders. And so they are dealing with, multi-million-dollar contracts. And when they get a new client and that client can say yes to them before they even meet in person, it's usually because they go, oh, I've watched your videos. I see what you guys already do. So I know that you're going to, even if things go awry during the process, you're going to still stick around. So they win contracts because of the videos that we do, not entirely because of the videos that we do, but having, over 1,500 videos documented on one channel is valid. It's validation of, okay, yeah, you guys are legit. And so, even though that channel is almost at 11,000 subscribers, it felt nice when we hit 10,000 because it was like, oh yeah, that 10,000 mark was like, now we're a real YouTube channel, even though like truly it makes no difference. But that vanity metric does make you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's like now I want to get to 100,000 subs. But subscribers, in that case, don't always equal, lots of views and stuff like that. And you can go out and buy subscribers if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
We do not.
That's good.
I've always been like, let's just keep going until we hit. And we had a video hit in the last, few weeks, and all it took was 1,500 videos. We get a video that hit 100,000 views. So
that's the thing is like, my wife spent a lot of time on our TikTok getting like followers just to get that number up there, and they're not great followers. It's
they're not engaged.
No engagement. They'll like stuff just out of obligation, but it's like the number though. Now when people look at the TikTok, they're like, oh, you have 4,000 subscribers. That's cool.
Yeah.
So maybe they are legit. But for me, when I say subscribers, I mean like paying customers,
right?
Because
exactly.
Occasionally I'll get an email from someone that says, hey, I've been using your app, for over 2 years and I love it. It's been a big part of our family. I've had people reach out and say really good things about Lion. And when people reach out and say that, then I definitely feel like, okay, I am a founder. Like I created this, but I don't get those every day. So for me, my bar of I've made it is I need to get that subscriber count up, because then, it's like anyone can create a product that maybe has like 300 subscribers or 200 or whatever.
Right.
But once you get to product market fit and actually you seek growth, steady growth, then you can feel like you're a legit founder,
Yeah. Well, I still struggle to call myself an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, same here. Especially now with AI, that term is, everyone is an entrepreneur. Yeah. It's like, it's going to make that term mean nothing here soon. It's so saturated because anyone can now go into AI, make an app, make a website, come up with a business plan. Everyone's an entrepreneur now. So it's like the word means less and less, I feel like.
It does. And like I've always, like, for me, I've just felt like I'm not doing anything like unbelievable. Like I'm just satisfying a need that I see in areas for people that want to be on the internet, that want to do certain things, but they don't want to pull out the camera and set it up and do it all. So I provide that service. And to me, I'm like, I don't really think I can call myself an entrepreneur. Or, like we're sitting in this trailer that I created. But I haven't made any money from it yet. So I'm like, I need some users to justify calling it.
Yeah.
An entrepreneurial journey. Like I submitted the DBA because I have a company. And so, I want to do business as mobile podcast trailer in certain, scenarios. And I submitted everything, but I haven't gotten an email back yet. And it's been 6 weeks or more. I don't even know who do I call?
Yeah. I think that's the thing though, with any entrepreneur or someone who's trying to, found a company, I feel like all of the founders, if you talk to a successful founder, there's probably like a point in that person's journey where it's like nothing was working. I wasn't getting the subscribers. I felt like quitting. Everyone has gone through that.
Yeah.
But then one thing changes, maybe a video goes viral or you start to get the clients and then everything just starts to go up and up. Same thing can be with the mobile podcast trailer. You can just get the right person on there.
Right.
Where and then you forget about, you're not going to forget about the journey, but then the focus is no longer, dang it, I need to grow this thing. It's like, okay, how can we expand or
how do we do it the right way?
Yes. So I think that everyone goes through this, and it's only the people that keep at it and do not give up that actually, because that's why so many, companies fail, is people give up at a certain point.
Well, I think too, that really kind of speaks to a lot of creative things. I don't know about like your creative journey, but like I was a musician for a lot of years, and I wanted to get a record deal. I wanted to go on tour, and we did go on tour. We almost got a record deal.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I look back on it, like probably was good that I didn't get a record deal. Because I've learned so much about the music industry that I'm pretty certain that I wouldn't want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I look back and go, okay, God, like you had us, even though at the time we were like, why didn't we make it?
Yeah.
There was a reason.
I mean, I think about that with Survivor too, just to go full circle, is, I ask God a lot, like, why not me? Why can't I just be on Survivor? And I think if I ever do get on Survivor, I'm going to look back, after the experience and be like, I was not ready. There is a reason why God wanted me to wait, or he, put me through that waiting season. It's the same with right now. I'm unemployed, and there's a lot of job opportunities that have come my way that I wasn't able to secure. I'm like, Lord, is there a reason? I feel like Moses in the desert. We just watched this Moses documentary. It's like, maybe he's preparing me for, what's in store.
Yeah.
And there's going to be like a dry season, or a season in the desert. And then I'll look back and be like, okay, yeah, now I see I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for that, or I was too immature to go on Survivor at that point.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have been a negative thing if I had gone on it, and maybe it will still be a negative thing, and I'm never going to be on Survivor. Maybe God knows I can't handle fame, or
Well, that's I think a lot of people get to the top and realize how lonely it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had loads of friends who have gone on to fame,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them can handle it, and some of them can't.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had one friend that he was on he ran. His fame wasn't like outward fame. It was like working with running live sound for really large bands, and toured with Coldplay and Parachute and Paramore and all of the really like big arena type stuff. And he told me, he was like, dude, I've never been surrounded by so many people and been so alone. And I remember when we were on the road, we were on a very, very, very small, tour of like playing at churches. But again, like being surrounded by people all the time and being like, golly, this sucks. Like, I'm so lonely. Because there are moments in time where you're like, even though you're with your friends in a tour bus, they don't always want to talk about your junk. So that's hard.
Yeah. 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 I think with Lion specifically, it's like, this is why it's constantly my prayer is like, Lord, if you don't want me to be doing this, please, like, shut doors and help me see, like, open my eyes, because
make it very apparent.
Yeah, because I don't want to waste my time with this. There's a fine line between, hey, I'm never going to give up, like that founder mentality, and being stubborn, where I want to make sure I'm doing what the Lord wants me to do. So if you don't want me to be focusing on Lion, please, if it's a matter of I just have to wait longer and I'm in the desert right now, please give me the strength to like get through this and understand that. And so he hasn't shut any doors with Lion yet. And I do feel like this is what I should be doing. It's just maybe not moving as fast as I wanted to. And again, I think there's a reason for that is maybe I need to have a certain maturity before he's ready to bless me. So that's why every morning I've been focusing on being in the Word, praying. Every morning I try to make it a priority because I'm like, I want to make sure my heart is right. If you do have blessing coming, I want to make sure that I'm ready for it because I don't want to be caught off guard and, find out actually I can't handle this. So that's why it's important for me to like make sure I'm making sure my heart is completely right with God first before my day starts.
Yeah. And I think too, like being aware of like preparing yourself for the day and for the possibility of the change is key. I think that really what it is that eventually from founders and entrepreneurs that I interact with, some see, immediate success and some don't. Sometimes it's, a 15-year overnight success. It takes time.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that like I relate it to is like, I keep on going, why isn't anybody like calling me to do mobile podcast trailer? And it's because I'm not having enough conversations with people that could use it. I'm having great conversations with people that would like to use it, but may not be able to afford it just yet, which is fine because I need proof of concept anyways. And I want this to be its own part, is like mobile podcast trailer, the podcast. I want it to be its own thing.
Yeah.
So there is going to be a part of like me on camera talking to people.
Did you ever listen to I think it was called the Startup Podcast?
I've listened to it, yeah.
Yeah, by Gimbal or something is their podcast company. It was basically them. They created a podcast about them creating a podcast company, and I loved it. And that's definitely something I feel like is what sets you apart. It's like, hey, I'm making a podcast about creating this mobile podcast trailer.
Yep.
Like that is very interesting.
Yeah. So I need to network more. I need to spend more time with people, and maybe, I don't know, this just came to mind. I think that maybe you need to get a booth at a church conference or a parenting conference. Maybe you get a booth at the homeschool convention every year. You'd probably have to pay, a fair amount of money, but it could probably
that would
probably be good.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if you've ever thought about that before, but like just as we're talking here, I know things that I need to do is get out in front of people that would be interested in this. Like truly, I think blue collar workers and doctors would be interested in this. Because I would like doctors who do like elective stuff or stuff that wouldn't like bother HIPAA, but like where we can do mock podcasts where then they can take it, we can clip it into short form, doctor talking to patient, stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And then blue collar workers that are like, I don't have time to go to a podcast studio and I don't have an office that, where I can build a podcast studio, but they have something to say. Window washing companies, garage door companies, where if they want to do a podcast and they're out in, the East Valley one day and they're like, well, I have to take this call out here. Can you come to this location? Yes, I can. So that's kind of the whole process of.
Yeah. Don't give up. I definitely think this, especially now, podcasts are huge. everyone wants to be on a podcast, do a podcast, and this makes it so much easier. So don't give up. I do think there's
it's just
definitely a
matter of
market
time.
for it.
And for you too, like we just got to put you in places where parents are, because I don't think the price point is good, and I don't see why parents wouldn't want to do it unless there was, like obviously at a convention or something, don't set up next to a competitor. But like I don't know how many competitors are thinking about putting themselves at a conference or a convention, where it's involved kids, families, and stuff. Like the homeschool convention is something.
The homeschool community is huge for this,
and I think people would eat this up in the homeschool community.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest parts of being a founder and for myself specifically running Lion is feeling like sometimes it's hard to be the cheerleader that the company needs, where it's, sometimes I second guess, do I have a good product? It's like, do parents want this?
We're sitting in my second guessing. Always.
It's like second guess every day. And I think that's the hardest part, where it's some people they're really good at sales. They could sell anything. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves.
Yeah. And it's just like, for me, that's just something that I struggle with as a founder, where it's like, I know this is good and I know I've seen it firsthand and I use it in my own family.
Yeah.
And yet I still have trouble, like going up to people and, telling them about it, because I'm like, am I wasting their time? I think that's my internal struggle. Yeah. That's just who I am.
Right.
Where it's hard. And so for the people that, go get successful or pretty quickly, I think it's the people that don't have trouble or don't second guess, where they are convinced no matter what, that their product is amazing. And it can be garbage. I've seen garbage products out there.
Yep.
And that's how I would say, that's how that my product is actually what, the apps that I created are actually worth checking out, because I am the first to say that even I'm
utilizing.
Yeah. And so we'll see how it goes, but I appreciate.
Yeah, dude. Well, I'm going to ask you one last thing. There could be, lots of parents that come into contact with the content that we're creating today. What's one thing that overwhelmed parents, what's one step that they could take today? Even if they don't, sign up for Lion, what's one step that they could take today and to help better protect their kids?
Yeah. That's a good question. And I knew this was going to be a question, and yet I still have trouble answering this. I think it is hard, especially for parents that are overwhelmed. It is hard to point them in a direction. I'm half tempted to tell parents to just email me, because honestly, I don't know. Like there's online resources, but you have to know where to look. I would just say this: don't let being overwhelmed stop you from making this a priority. It is. I was reading a statistic. I'm probably going to butcher it, but I think it was like the average age of porn exposure is 12 or 11 or something. I think it's actually much less, but
I was 4.
Okay. Yeah, I was 5. And I think the longer we can delay that, the better. You're not going to protect your kid. Good luck protecting them until they're 18. They're probably going to see something. But the longer you can delay that, the better. So I know parents feel overwhelmed. and technology is hard, but don't give up. Do what you can, set up some limits, set up screen time. Screen time is a great place in an iPhone or an iPad to go and just set up some things. Honestly, though, I want to be a resource for people that have questions. Obviously, I think, the Lion apps are a good place to start. But if you don't want to, I still want to help, So people can just go to lionfamily.org and there's a contact form there and they can ask me, I want people to ask me questions about iPad, like how do I limit apps? How do I block Safari? How do I do these things? And also, I want to produce more short form and long form content about forget the Lion apps. This is how you set up screen time and things. I actually created a big document one time in Notion of this was the parental controls handbook. But then iOS 26 came out and some things changed. And I was I don't know if I want to update this every single time. But
well, that's actually a good way to monetize something.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, like I said, my recommendation for parents or my suggestion is don't give up. I know it's hard. Try to learn, how screen time works and iPhones work. And if you have questions, just, you can contact me on the website. But it is worth it. It is totally worth it if you can delay, that exposure to adult content. I think that's, especially as kids, it's really hard not to be interested, in that kind of stuff, because we're curious. And I think the longer you can delay it, the more mature your kid is going to be, and that's going to help a lot. Because I would say it definitely, affected me in most of my life. So it's something that definitely parents need to take seriously.
Yep, I agree. Well, dude, we've been at this for hour 19. Nice. Well, I'll wrap it up here. Hey, if you guys have made it this far, I'm going to have Patrick tell you his social media handles right now.
Okay. Yeah. So TikTok and Instagram and Facebook are all Lion Family apps. Lion Family apps. The website is lionfamily.org. So if you go on the website, you'll see all 4 apps there. You can even subscribe. I recently added the option to subscribe to the app. So if you subscribe on the website, it'll remember your email and everything. And then when you go to download anything like Lion Browser or Lion Family, I recommend start with Lion Family. You can log in with that same email and you'll be already paid for. And then from Lion Family, you can go in, add family members and get them set up with browser, YouTube, and AI. But yeah, check us out. And feel free to use that contact form and reach out. I'll even send out my email is patrick@lionfamily.org. So very simple. Feel free to email me if you have any questions about screen time or the Lion apps or anything. I want to be a resource for parents.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you guys for hanging out here with Patrick and I. And Patrick, thanks for hanging out with me today.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate you a lot. And you guys have a good day.